Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today's adventure is going to take us once again into the world of the supernatural. So, if you don't have your crucifix, which I don't have, I have my crucifix. I lost my crucifix a long time ago. But I don't have any fear because I actually have direct connection to Jesus anytime I need. So if things go sour with the supernatural, like Jesus hit that reset button, it's time to start this game over again, and he'll take care of me. So I recommend getting some kind of supernatural forces. Maybe some rosary beads. These are just regular beads. I think my daughter gave me these last time I saw her, so that's why I'm wearing them, because they're cute and pretty, and they're from my daughter. But some form of supernatural connection to help you defeat the supernatural, because not everybody's a telekinesis master like I am, and if you doubt my telekinetic skills, I recommend you go watch my coverage of the telekinesis guru. While I didn't quite master the crotch thrust of the trash can that he was pulling off, I did manage to move the spoon and set the napkin on fire, and lots of cool stuff like that. So yeah, if you missed that, you could check that out too. I should probably drop the link in the side chat or something, or in the when I premiere this, drop this in the chat over there. In the premiere chat, I guess it would be, not the live chat. Anyway, if you do want to join the live chat though, and you're watching this on the premiere, all you have to do, the instructions are super simple, right? Super simple. All you have to do is get up at 9:30 a.m., right? And you have to go to youtube.com, and you select the drop down menu. Let's say that things are live, and it should have a little icon that says, because you've hit the bell down there, right? The bell, and you got to do the light up thing too on the bell so it notifies you. But anyway, and you hit that drop down menu, it should have me on there, right? I should be on there to watch me live, and you'll see like a little intro, and then I'll come in and do some Cryptic Corner with you in the side chat with these cool people over here. Everybody hanging out over here this morning. You can join them, and they will turn on your device. Turn on a device. You can do it on your phone too. You don't have to even get out of bed, really. Just turn it on. You could listen to it while you're like waking up in the morning. Turn it on your phone when you get up, and then go to your bathroom business and have it sitting there on the sink or whatever, playing while you're brushing your teeth and washing your face or whatever you do in the morning to get ready. Do that. Come join us Saturday morning. We love to see you live, and you'll get more interaction out of me. Ask these guys. They get to talk about the topic. Today we got a ghost on the menu, and they're going to talk to me about the ghost and be part of the show. And you can be too. Every Saturday, live from the Hive. Check it out. All right, that's enough promotion. How long did I spend promoting there? That's a little too long, maybe. But, I mean, I don't want to downplay how much I enjoy seeing you all interacting in the side chat and giving me your input. Let's see. You didn't even really have to get up. Watch in bed. It's kinky, says Deep Arcs. Yes, we do not kink shame in the Hive. So if you're into watching live from the Hive in bed, maybe in bed with your partner, I'm here for it. That sounds awesome. I haven't been able to attain holy water. Each time I catch some, it fills in the holes and drains away. Yes, right. It's too many holes in that holy water. For sure. But you will not be able to. I don't think you'll be able to defeat this with holy water, because you'll have to defeat his unholy tears for today's culprit. I promise you that. It is gonna be a spooky one, because if you all are not familiar with this, today we're going to explore the curse of the crying boy. So again, as always, let me know how the audio is and everything, and here we go.
In folklore, it is common to find stories of pictures falling from walls for no reason. and if this picture happens to be a portrait, it is said that it is an omen of impending death. We may also have seen pictures where the eyes appear to follow us around the room.
Ooh, the hands resist. This is a good one. The hands resist is a haunted painting. It was sold on eBay. And on eBay, I guess the selling pitch was just had the emotional attached to it, but you can really see how this has an emotional detachment. You got the kid, the emotionless kid, his sad doll, and then hands in the darkness behind him. It's kind of creepy. The Hands Resist is the name of this painting. Look it up. We might cover it sometime, but not today.
Fiction of where some entity or spirit appears to dwell within a picture or portrait upon the wall of a haunted house. The Crying Boy is one such painting, having once upon a time struck fear into the hearts of many. Was this painting cursed, or was it simply the subject of an urban legend? This is the story of the Crying Boy.
Alright, here we go. Curse of the Crying Boy.
The painting seemed to appear out of the blue one morning in 1985. The Sun newspaper, a British tabloid, and one of
The Sun, of course, you know, high quality, high caliber reporting.
the most popular English-speaking papers, published in that year a headline, Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy. In it, a couple was said to have blamed a cheap painting of a boy with tears rolling down his face for a fire of which ruined their terraced home in Rotherham, South Yorkshire. The blaze is thought to have been a common type of fire, that of a chip pan fire in their kitchen. These type of fires spread rapidly and can cause untold destruction. However, they said that although their house was badly damaged, with most of their furniture destroyed.
So it was a grease fire, lady. Take some kitchen precautions, right? And there's some steps to protect your kitchen. Okay.
The Crying Boy painting escaped undamaged. According to the article, it continued to hang in the room, surrounded by a scene of devastation, and yet completely untouched by the fire. To make matters even stranger, the brother of the man in question was a firefighter in the same town. He said that a colleague of his knew of numerous other cases where the
Depends on what kind of bass player you are, John. If you're a slap bass player, you're a lot more likely to get some tail than you are just playing root notes behind the guitar. If you're doing things that are fancy and almost like a drummer, yeah, that's hot. I love a bass player just yeah.
similar painting of a crying boy.
I have no idea why you guys are talking about bass players though. Bass is the best of both worlds between rhythm and guitar. Yeah, it depends on how you play it though, right? Hey Brian Stevens, good to see ya. So insurance scam disguises the haunting. Usually
had turned up undamaged in the ruins of house fires all around the country. On the article was a picture of a crying boy painting, and under it was a caption which read, "Tears for Fears, the portrait that a fireman claims is cursed." The fireman in question had actually not used the word cursed. However, tabloid papers being what they are, helped to create the sensation that there was a fear of a curse within the firefighting community.
it's like an urban legend too. It was like in the UK at this time, because a lot of these pictures are found at. We'll talk about that, but let's let them go. Let's let them go.
The same
let them
paper
cook,
also claimed
let them cook, as the kids say.
that there were over 50,000 crying boy prints, most of which signed by G. Bragolin, of which had been sold in all manner of department stores throughout the country. They also claimed that they were very common in working class areas of northern England, such as where the family had hailed from. Many homes around the UK would have had these pictures in their living rooms, perhaps even hung ominously above the fireplace. One story connected to the article suggested that over 250,000 crying boy paintings had been sold at the time of publication.
Yeah, well, Bragolin, which wasn't a real person, but anyway, Bragolin started the trend, but a lot of people imitated him because they'd sell so good to tourists. As Italian, Bragolin wasn't even Italian; he was Spanish. His name was Bruno Armadillo. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's 23 minutes of this video. I need to slow the hell down.
Public interest soon exploded around these pictures, and the very next day the Sun ran another story, this time reporting many hundreds of alleged cases of crying boy curses. Apparently, the paper had been inundated with calls and letters, all fearing that they had been cursed by similar paintings of crying boys with tears running down their faces. To make matters stranger, not all of the stories were connected with house fires, but rather paranormal events.
Crotch fires? What? Let's not have any of those. That sounds terrible. I get laid because I'm big and hairy and I drag the big iron. Is that Al Trucker? That's how you roll? This musical tangent came from Auto Carrot effing up my shaved scrotum joke. Ah, okay, gotcha. It's a tangent, or not tangent, rabbit hole of bass player jokes. I gotcha. That's fine. Maybe it's painted on asbestos. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Callers to the Sun said that their crying boy painting had induced a kind of overwhelming presence in their house, the feeling of eyes following them around the room, or of simply a sense of foreboding, or a feeling of evil coming across their property. As more stories began to surface, more people came forward with their own tales of the crying boy. One owner said that she had seen her painting swinging from side to side on the wall, and another said, oddly enough, that her young child had caught his private parts on a hook just after she had bought the picture, resulting in a horrific...
A clear relation there, and we get back to genitals, right? Yeah, when you buy a picture of a crying child, the obvious correlation is that any injuries that your children suffer from there forward is the result of that painting, right? That's the logical leap.
Injury. Yet another, of whom wrote a letter to be published in the newspaper, claimed that she had bought a picture in 1959, and since then her 3 sons and her husband have died. She had wondered if the painting was cursed. However, the most frightening of these stories is connected.
But a lot of people died, though, in that time frame. Not just the people who lived in the houses with the paintings, but also the people who lived in the houses without the paintings. This is what they call it. Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where you draw a circle. And it's what David Paulides does as well, if you're familiar with him. Missing 411, that's what it's all about. Take a phenomena that's pretty common across the spectrum, and then you draw a circle around a section of them and say, these people also have this in common, which would be something like, yeah, they bought this painting, or they hiked in this particular park, or whatever, or it was snowing on the day that they left, or whatever. Yeah, something like that. And saying, okay, so this is all correlation. It's causation without correlation. Is the name of the game. I mean, and I'm not trying to like dismiss this or anything, but I will warn you that everybody who has confused correlation with causation has died. Everyone, or they will die.
Connected to that of house fires. Dora Mann from Surrey, of whom also appeared in the tabloid press, claimed that her house was gutted by fire only a few months after purchasing a crying boy painting. She said all my paintings were destroyed, except the crying boy. There were other stories similar to this.
Oh my gosh, Donna, Deep. Sorry, you talked to David Paulides. I'd love to pick your brain about it if he actually was able to engage with. If you were actually able to get him to engage with anything you said.
Sandra Cask of Kilburn in North Yorkshire said that both her and her sister-in-law and her friend had all suffered fires since purchasing a Crying Boy picture. Meanwhile, another family from Nottingham also blamed the Crying Boy print for a fire of which destroyed their home completely.
Precisely, Brian Stevens. It reminds me of the one Egyptian curse. I think it's King Tut's curse that you're referring to. Curse of the Pharaoh or whatever. 10 people died as a result. It took 53 years. All died in statistically normative, but cursed.
Leaving them homeless. More stories like this continue to come, including people needing treatment for smoke inhalation, fires destroying their entire homes and treasured heirlooms, and almost all of the time they had said that although everything in their lives was destroyed, the Crying Boy still hung on the wall, undamaged. The wall behind it blackened with the remains of the fire, the print itself completely undamaged. Another reader, of whom sent their story to the Sun, said that they had attempted to destroy the prints by fire themselves, only to find that the prints would not set on fire. Her claim was actually tested by a security guard, of whom threw a Crying Boy painting onto a bonfire. It was in the flames for over 1 hour and was not even scorched.
Before we do anything else, we need to look at this. It's 2 minutes, but we'll watch it. This is from BBC Radio 4. Punch PI tries to burn the cursed paintings.
Punt, Tracy. Got a little something for you. One I looked into myself back in the 80s. We called it The Curse of the Crying Boy. I want you to reopen the case.
There was only one thing left to do. Quiz some boffins about the baffling curse top pick. Or rather, ask some scientists to test the painting in a fire.
In order to enhance the scientific credibility of this test, we're actually filming this. It's quite a big flame. The flame is now about 2 feet high. It is slowly inching towards the figure. Just the lapel of his jacket has disappeared now. There's a hole in the bottom right hand corner of the painting, but the flames don't appear to be spreading across.
Ooh, spooky.
Well, you'd have to say that has not caught fire. It's definitely dying down now. In fact, it's now time to put the sausages on.
The painting had a hole in it from where the fire had touched it, but the flames hadn't spread.
But you'd have to say that fire's pretty much going out.
Martin, though, was a man of science and not given to superstition. For him, the unvarnished truth might be in the varnish.
A bit surprised. I think it's probably been coated in something which is resisting the flames, whether it's actually some sort of fire retardant coating they put on the picture, or whether it's just some other coating which happens to have fire retardant properties.
As I closed the casebook, one partially charred Crying Boy portrait sat forlornly outside on the porch. I'm not taking any chances. Would you?
So there's that, yeah. Back to the main video.
It was frightening, he said. The fire would not even touch it. I really believe this image is cursed. We feel very at risk with these in our homes, and we are determined to get rid of them. This story returns us to the original article of a fireman believing the paintings to be cursed. The mystery, from their perspective, was how the paintings had survived the fires. Most cases of discarded cigarettes, chip pan fires, faulty electrical equipment were found to have caused the actual fires in question, and yet...
Well, see, that's, again, back to what Brian Stevens was just saying. This is exactly the situation. It's like, the fires can have completely natural and well-rounded explanations, but they still want to say because the person had this painting in their house, that it was the painting's fault. That if they hadn't had the painting in their house, they could have put their cigarette on this newspaper and it not burned up. Fucking, are you serious?
Nobody could explain how the Crying Boy had remained untouched and unscathed by the fires. When Rotherham Fire Station contacted the Sun, Alan Wilkinson emerged from there and had logged 50 Crying Boy fires since the publication of the article, and dating right back to 1973, and yet he dismissed any connection with the supernatural. Wilkinson was an experienced firefighter. He said that he was not superstitious, and he claimed that most fires were simply caused by human carelessness, and there was nothing else to it. However, even he could not explain how the pictures could survive the fires. When his wife was asked what she believed, she claimed that she believed it was the tears of which put the fires out. This occult theme...
But they aren't real tears, ma'am. They're paintings of tears. You can't... This isn't Wile E. Coyote where you can paint a doorway on a cliff face and go through it, and you can't draw a bucket of water to put out a fire. That's just not the way the real world works.
Followed with the articles of which followed from the original Sun article. In fact, it soon became quite clear to those researching the topic that the Crying Boy pictures were not all the same. There was a theme to them, and indeed they were not even by the same artist. The original picture of which featured during the fire in Rotherham was signed by G. Bragolin, and the Sun claimed that this was an original Italian
Hey, NJ, good to see you this morning.
artist. In fact, Giovanni Bragolin was actually a nom de plume, adopted by a Spanish painter known as Bruno Amadeo. This painter was also known as Franco Cheville. Many attempts were then made to trace the artist, and art historians were called in, and yet these historians said that they could not find evidence of this artist, and from there on, things became confusing. To make matters even worse, these different Crying Boy paintings were found within the fires. Without doubt, these sad, melancholic images of children have been popular for many years. There are crying boys and crying girls, mournful, somber pictures of children in sad remembrance.
Yeah, it's a weird genre that exists. There's lots of weird genres that exist. There was a genre of women. Again, I've covered this before. There was a genre of gorillas stealing women from villages, which is a thing that never happened. But there's a genre of art about it. There's a genre of art where mischievous rabbits perform acts of cruelty on other animals in the margins of medieval books. There's a genre of art about it. You can look it up. Again, we've been in the bestiary show. We've talked about the genre of art where with a beaver ripping off its own testicles. Do you think that happens in reality? Then, but I mean, no. It's just a weird genre of art. People are weird, and they like to be into some weird stuff.
Prayer, and even pictures of boys or girls holding flowers, gazing at them in sadness, or even appearing to be in mourning for a death. In a stark difference to the frightening headlines of the Sun article, some people had emotional bonds to these pictures, and they felt a strong connection to the paintings. They helped them to release emotion. They felt there was something nice about them, and they refused to get rid of them, despite the growing fear of these images. I have never cared for the picture myself because of its sadness, the wife of one owner said. Why would you want a picture of a crying child in the first place? Why would the child be crying? And yet, surely the fact that such pictures can elicit emotion, whether that be melancholy, shared sadness, or even simply a feeling of empathy towards the child,
the candle makes it kind of the candle gives it a little bit of oomph, and that would explain the fire too, because she'd be lighting fires with her ghost candle. Since her ghost tears could put out fires, why can't a ghost candle light them, right? Morning, Mark and Tux, and anybody else pop in here? I thought I saw somebody else, but oh yeah, I already said good morning to my bunny, to my weird bunny in the margins. Hey, cutie pie.
Many ways and reasons why people may enjoy such images. Journalists quickly turned to the occult to try and explain the house fires and the fears of the paranormal phenomena associated with the paintings. The Sun actually approached the Folklore Society and found a member known as Georgina Boys. The interview, however, was brought to a halt after she refused to say that the paintings were satanic for their article. Following this, the Sun newspaper went
So
to
like, it sounds like the Sun was really trying to cultivate some fear around these, some panic around these paintings. It's really weird. It gets weirder.
in search of witches, wizards, and other occult experts, and in fact, as they said, anyone who was into this type of thing to make a headline. Roy Vickery, the then secretary of the Folklore Society, said that the effect here could be that an original artist may have mistreated a child model in some way, and this way the fire could be the child's curse coming through the paintings, a psychic way of getting revenge.
That wouldn't explain why all these different pictures of different kids, though. And again, it sounds like the Sun was asking this guy the same way that if the way that what's his name asked Richard Dawkins, that Ben Stein asked Richard Dawkins about if there was a non-evolutionary origins to life, what would it be? Same kind of thing. This person's like, if there was a supernatural element behind this crying boy curse, what would it be? As that sounds like the type of question they were asking this folklorist. And he's like, well, in folklore, things like this tend to be like, oh, somebody maybe abused a child, there was a burning orphanage, that kind of stuff.
In other words, he was claiming that the artist may have painted a picture of an abused or neglected child, and that this child, through their tears and sadness, had brought sadness, and therefore a type of retribution onto the owners. Such stories did very little to calm the fears of the public.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, the British Inquirer, the British equivalent of the Daily Inquirer, says Marguerite. Yes, the Sun is. Isn't the Sun basically a tabloid? Yeah, and they acknowledge that at the beginning. You highly suspect the artist was using, at the time, new Starlight paint. Right area of UK for it to have been available in right date range. It takes 1,000 degrees Celsius to light it. Yeah, Brian Stevens is dropping spoilers for my suspicion on the origins here. But let's see. It wasn't in the UK though, so we'll have to explore that. Okay, is internet not broken anymore? I don't think it was broken here on this end. I hope it was. I hope you all were still able to see me. Anyway, let's keep going.
Soon enough, fire stations around the country were actually asking people to send their crying boy pictures to them if they were afraid that they were cursed. Send your pictures to us, they claimed, and we will destroy them safely for you, and therefore you need not worry that you are cursed. Strangely enough, however, when a fireman reported to have taken down an image of Winston Churchill in their fire station and replaced it with a crying boy, the boss immediately said, "Take that down, I do not like it. It is bad luck." There are also many other similar stories of firemen who did believe that these paintings were bad
luck. So, just someone not liking the aesthetics of a painting with a crying child, especially when you take a picture down of like I'd say in the 20th century, the greatest leader or whatever that the UK had was Winston Churchill, which may or may not be true, but he was the leader during World War II, so he gets that title. And replacing it with an image of just a child crying. Yeah, I can understand not wanting to do that and not having to do with a curse.
Look,
just not liking it.
One fireman known as Alan Wilkinson was presented with a framed image of a crying boy upon his retirement. Mr. Wilkinson denied being superstitious, and yet he immediately returned the painting, claiming that he simply did not like it. Whether the fireman believed that these paintings were cursed or not is immaterial, especially when we go back to the Sun newspaper, of whom soon found out that the fire brigade was asking for people to send their crying boy paintings in, and ran with this story. The Sun soon had a story on Halloween with the headline, "The Sun nails the curse of the weeping boy for good," and with it came a photograph of a page 3 girl feeding a bonfire with many hundreds of crying boy pictures, of which were loaded into a van before the image was taken. Strangely, many members of the public believed
they look like they're burning just fine here, though. Look at them.
This stunt to be a type of exorcism of which had stopped the curse, at least temporarily. In fact, stories about crying boys soon began to decrease and interest waned. There were a few stories, and yet soon it was...
So, let's see. Yeah, the internet's always broken. Yes, Mark Reed. The older home versions of Starlight has 10 teaspoons of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 4 teaspoons of Elmer's PVA glue, all common materials. Yeah, PVA glue, even non-Elmer's PVA glue can, depending on the chemical composition, can make a good fire retardant as a coating. That's the only reason I know that, it's really weird because we built a log cabin out of popsicle sticks and coated it with like generic PVA glue, the one that has the bottle with the brush, coated it on the outside with that over top of the varnish to make it waterproof. And then we tried to burn it, stuffed it with grass and tried to burn it and stuff. We were just kids being weird, doing army men stuff and whatnot, and dinosaurs. But yeah, it wouldn't burn because of the glue on the outside. But I don't know if that glue would hold up to 1,000 degrees though. So there's that.
Was forgotten. That was until the following year, when crying boy stories once more began to return. This time, however, new urban legends were attached to them. Some stories even suggested that the paintings were now good luck instead of bad. Similar to this, stories said that placing a crying girl next to a crying boy would bring good luck to the house or ward off evil spirits, perhaps harkening back to the old folklore beliefs of duality and of joining two souls together. The original 1985 story, however, did not claim.
So that's a weird notion that 2 crying children will be better than 1. Okay.
To know why the paintings were cursed, or why they were associated with the paranormal. And neither did it go very far, apart from a few baseless interviews with so-called occult experts, in explaining why the paintings were untouched.
Yeah, Mark Reed's in Australia. Yeah, well, it's hot AF over here, mate. It was 45 degrees Celsius the other day. Yeah, that's hot.
By the fires. The arrival of the internet, however, enabled people to research these stories much deeper than what was ever possible in the 80s. By looking into the stories online, people could find evidence of crying boy fires from all over the world, and not just the UK. These stories claimed all manner of things, from poltergeist activity.
So, like the crying boy art is like maybe the equivalent of the deer at the Autumn Brook photo or paintings that were popular in the U.S. from the late 60s until the mid 80s. Just deer or families of deer in a forest by a brook in autumn. Like everybody had that painting in their house, right? And then you could draw correlation between everybody who had that painting and house fires and say, oh, these are haunted paintings because so many people had that because it was a common decor at the time.
To psychic mediums claiming to have contacted the spirit of the boy in the painting, as well, of course, as many house fires. This led to a resurgence of a kind in the idea that the boy in the painting was abused or neglected in some way. Of particular note, when tracing the history of the original Yorkshire house fire from the article connected with crying boy paintings, the name of George Mallory can be found. Mallory was said to be a well-respected researcher in occult matters, as well as a retired schoolteacher. He said that he had actually traced the artist of whom painted the original picture, of whom he quoted to be an old Spanish portrait artist named Francesco Seville, of whom lives in Madrid. And it just so happens that Seville is one of the pseudonames of Bruno Amadeus or G. Bragalin, of which the original painting was signed by. According to this narrative, G. Bragalin or Seville, or whatever his real name may have been, claimed himself that
his real name was Bruno Armadillo. Bruno Armadillo was his birth name. As far as all records show, he was born in Venice, Italy on the 9th of November, 1911. He's not a mysterious person. The paintings, when he was marketing them, he actually marketed them as, let me use a slur here, and I'm sorry, the Gypsy Boys, even though these children that were painted allegedly had no connection whatsoever to the Romani people. So, for what it's worth, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia article here. So it's not like he's this mysterious figure. He's like a known dude.
Painting was that of a small homeless child, of whom he had found wandering the streets. This child never said a word, and he had a sorrowful look to his eyes, inspiring the artist to paint the boy. After the painting was completed, a Catholic priest identified the boy in the painting as Don Ponillo, a small child of whom had ran away from home after seeing his parents die in a fire. The priest reportedly told the artist to have nothing to do with this runaway child.
This is a modern addition to the folklore. The Don Benito and the Diablo stuff is not like part of the original story. This is stuff that's 21st century editions.
Because wherever the boy settles, fires mysteriously broke out. An event so common that villagers called him Diablo because of his association with fires. The painter apparently
modern additions to the folklore.
Ignored the priest's advice and actually went as far as adopting the child. His pictures of this crying boy began to sell well, and yet one day his studio was destroyed by fire and his career was over. He accused the boy of setting fire to his collection on purpose, and the child ran away in tears, never to be seen again. This story continues that all over Europe reports were seen of crying boy paintings beginning to cause fires after...
Those are not boys though. There's not the same person in all these paintings. They act like it's the same Don Benito when only one of these can be Don Benito, or maybe a few of them from different angles, but they're obviously pictures of different children crying.
The child had run away. The artist was regarded as having cursed the image himself, and from then on, many people got rid of all of his paintings, or refused to have them in their houses. In the year 1976, a car exploded into a fireball on the outskirts of Barcelona, after veering off the road and crashing into a wall. The victim inside was burnt beyond all recognition, and yet part of his driving license was found. The name upon this license was a now 19-year-old Don Ponillo, the same child from the crying boy pictures. Was this the same boy? The devil child of whom brought the fires?
That's additional folklore, though, that you're adding on there yourself, dude. Or that some tabloid journalist is adding on.
And the curse upon the many strange pictures of himself. Some have claimed that it was, and that the child, Ponillo, had a type of psychokinetic ability to create fire. This has been documented, such as the telekinetic medium Nino Conlino, of whom is said to have been able to create fire at will with the power of their mind. And
you cannot say this is documented and then talk about a bunch of woo masters who Amazing Randy could trounce with a simple experiment. This person could not make fire with their mind. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
It reminds me very much of the inner fire of the Kundalini awakening experience, said to rise throughout the chakras, burst out of the head, resulting in enlightenment. And this also reminds me of the strange phenomena of spontaneous human combustion, where people are said to burst into flames without any external source.
Oh, sweetie, we could go into a whole nother episode about spontaneous human combustion. Does the Hive want an episode about spontaneous human combustion in the future? Let's see. We're gonna start a poll. Do you want a cryptic corner Oh, put a space. About. There you go. Do you want a cryptic corner about spontaneous human combustion?
And for no reason whatsoever. Of course, the appearance of Don Pinillo and the theory that he is indeed the boy in the paintings completes the story, bringing us back to the original article in the Sun paper, a full urban legend of which is accessible to anybody and even links us to a potential real person behind it. There is, of course, very little factual evidence that Pinillo truly existed, or that the artist came across such a child in the first place. And yet, such is the case with supernatural stories of all manners such as this. One can research so far, and then they will come across dead ends time and time again.
So, to clarify, about Giovanni Bragolin, right? Dude was still alive until like the 70s. Look, we have a death date on it for him and where he's buried and everything. He's not a mysterious figure. Died September 22nd, 1981 at the age of 69 in Padua, Italy. And yeah, he continued to work and paint in Padua, Italy, and sell his paintings in Padua, Italy. It's not, it's just attacking on the folklore to a real person's life that's easily overturned.
And you will not be able to get any further. Perhaps the truth does not want to be found, some would say. Crying boy paintings have very much disappeared into obscurity within the modern day, and yet, in recent times there has been a slight resurgence of this legend. This time, the Star newspaper reported that a fire had destroyed a house in Rotherham yet again, of where the legend began. This time, the owner claimed that there were 3 separate house fires, and each house
now we have the Daily Star jumping into the game.
Had a crying
Morning,
boy painting
staff.
hanging on the wall. Of course, in our modern skeptical society, this has led to people doing their own experiments onto such pictures. Some have concluded that the crying boy paintings were treated with a special type of varnish, of which contained a fire-retardant substance. This, they claim, would be enough on its own to stop the paintings from burning. And yet, they also claim that if the wall behind it was to crumble because of the fire, that the weight of the substance upon the painting would result in it landing face down on the floor and protecting it from...
Not only that, there's the way they hang these old paintings is through a piece of twine across the back, right? And that twine would not have been fire treated, so the twine would just done.
Any further fire damage. This has not stopped the myth of the crying boy, however. In fact, there was even a crying boy fan club on the internet, albeit for a very brief period, until it too disappeared in the year 2006. Very little remained.
Yeah, humans are into some weird stuff. I'm not gonna say that, oh, this is, evidence of supernatural. People are like into the crying boy. People are into to precious moment figurines. People are into some weird stuff.
Of what was on this website, and yet, if one does a little bit of research, they can find a post.
And I say this with a wall full of bugs behind me, so yeah, I'm into some weird stuff too.
From one Rodrigo Faria of Brazil. He attributes the paintings yet again to Giovanni Bragolin, and he adds that Bragolin knew that sensations of fear and of terror and of illness were always associated with his paintings. Rodrigo Faria's post goes on to say that these prints were popular in Brazil in the 1980s. He says, "I have seen all the 28, and I can assure you that these paintings are representations of dead children. They are filled with subliminal messages." He goes on to state that Bragolin had made an evil pact in order to sell his paintings and used occult works to gain his fame and fortune.
Ooh.
His post finishes with the warning, "Please, if you have one of these paintings, throw it away, now."
So you're gonna slander an artist, I guess. That's fine. Do that. It's within your... Oh. Good night. Good night, Mark. It's nighttime, bedtime in Australia. Alright, that was the left-handed path. They do documentaries about supernatural stuff. Yeah, left-handed path documentaries. Got the comments turned off here, interestingly enough, but let's go give their channel a quick look. Let's see, they got 1.83k subscribers, so they're a little bit bigger than me, but yeah, on the same size. They talk like it's curse the heck some heads. We did that. Let's see what else they got. Anything new? 8 days ago, Gnome Sweet Gnome. Eccentric history of garden gnomes. So it's not all supernatural stuff. Got some fairy history. Story of Blackpool, fresh air and fun. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of folklore and stuff that you can glean from this channel if you're into that. But yeah, we probably revisit them again. That was a fun video, well put together documentary. 2 thumbs up. I'm going to subscribe, or Dennis is going to subscribe anyway. So yeah, what do you all think of the folklore about the crying boy, though? Do you think it's just the same it's the same correlation doesn't equal causation kind of arguments that we always see with these things associated with the supernatural, because they make draw connections that may not actually be there? Let us know in the comments down below, and yeah, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.
There is no spoon. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.